Hey there guys, welcome to a Civ study for Age of Empire 3 Definitive Edition. Today we'll be looking at the Inca civilization and more importantly, all of the different building buffs that they can get. We have a whole bunch of things that will be buffing the hit points of our buildings and we'll look at that at the end. But for now we're going to look at some of the other ones that you might not have considered building buffs. Right here, Llama Lifestyle is going to be making each of your llamas work as a half a worker instead of a quarter worker. This means if you get your 20 llama max and throw them into the community plaza with 5 villagers, they'll be acting as though you have 15 villagers in there already. That's extremely powerful early on, as those llama will become a food source later, and you'll be getting effectively 15 villagers worth of buff out of there. Early on, that's 130% for gather rate, for example, which is more important mathematically to have more villagers on the map instead of the plaza early on. Once you start booming, then you bring in 20 villagers, eat the llama, replace them, and get an even bigger buff going. So this is one that should not be underestimated. It allows you to be a lot more efficient with your villagers. Town Ceremony is one that's going to be buffing your buildings in combat, and we'll be looking at that towards the end after we discuss the hit points buffs. Next is going to be the I think that's check system. Do you pronounce that with a CH? I'm not actually sure. If someone could tell me in the comments, or if that doesn't happen, I'll just go ahead and look at it online to figure it out. At any rate, here we're getting a trickle of experience. 1 per second for each of the tambos that are out there. This is most useful on maps that have a ton of locations to drop the tambo. If they're not, it's relatively worthless and I would suggest skipping it. But what this is going to let you do is really start pumping out the cards way early on, much faster than your opponents can. Next up is the Chicha Brewing. This is going to get you a 1 per second food drip from each of your concha houses as opposed to a half a food per second. Now, keep in mind, concha houses are not affected by the gather buff from the community plaza. These are buildings, not units. You will still only get 12 per second from the concha houses, regardless. This is a really good drip that allows you to focus on other things with your villagers in higher rates, such as clearing the forests around your area, which the Inca are really good at. And they need to be, because they need to be able to sprawl out with what's about to happen with them. Next is the Cloud Fortress. This one's going to be interesting. In fact, this one combined with High Ground is going to give you a little bit of an advantage over your opponent without... I don't think many people realize what you can do with this. So, if you notice, first off, High Ground is giving me some ridiculous sight. And that means that even if he's got like something right here inside the range of the line of sight, he still won't be able to see the building get dropped, sort of thing. Now, if we combine that with something like Cloud Fortress, now let's hope the computer doesn't ask to resign again because he killed himself on mid defenses. I haven't even taken any units in there. All right, so if we look, for example, if I hit the stealth button, what this is going to do is prevent my stronghold from actually attacking, but I can do something like this. Now keep in mind, the enemy can't really do anything about that. The enemies can't attack that. But it's going to allow me to actually like really have a forward base that's undetectable. Hey guys, as far as the enemy units are concerned. I mean, obviously there's going to be something going on there. I think you can even see like the outline when it's not your thing, or like some sort of like predator type thing going on, but they won't be able to actually target that. So that's going to give you a really, you know, if they can't see, like I think they have to be like somewhere around here before they actually start seeing what's going on with their units. So that's an extremely powerful card that most people don't really think about using to any advantage. And I haven't really seen it get used in any sort of play at all. So it's something to think about. A brain bunny, if you will. All right, so let's start getting into the nitty-gritty of things that really, really start making the Inca a very powerful civilization. First off, we're going to look at the fact that they can get 9 town centers on the map. Every civilization gets the 3, and they can even buff it up to 5 in most cases. But something like the Huanca support is going to give you a +1 build limit. 2 town centers, which I think all subs have, get you another 2. And resettlements is get you another 1. So if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right off the bat. So how do you get to 9? Well, age 5 is going to refresh. I think resettlements refreshes. I know 2 town centers does. I think Huanca support does as well. But you have to remember with this one, no, Huanca support doesn't because that is a buff card. At any rate, you can only have a maximum of 9. If you send the cards before age 5, they will be refreshed once you get into age 5, allowing you to get 2 more to go from 7 to 10, or I'm sorry, 7 to 9. However, it does not let you break 9. It's a single digit variable. You max out at 9. You cannot get 10, at least not that I've been able to figure out. But that's going to be stupid as well, because you can do things like really pack together and compartmentalize your base to just make it really hard for the enemy to get through it all. Or you can do things like use that to your advantage to snake towards the town enemy, or you can do what I did and just take control of the entire side of the map that you're on and make it annoying for them to figure out where you're coming from, because you can pinpoint where they're coming from, what they're trying to do, and they can't do anything about it. If they're coming this way and try to do a scouting party and see something here and they're like, oh, I got to take care of that, and they start sending people here, you're sending guys all around like this to get to them. So hey, it's not my fault they give me 9 town centers. Take advantage of it. Beyond that, we're getting hit point buffs. A lot of hit point buffs. We're getting 40% for all the buildings here. We're getting an additional 25% for the war huts here, and we're allowed to drop down 6 more, so we can really, really kind of like lock down areas. This one for your walls is going to give an additional 100%. Now, while we're talking about the percents, this is based off of the base health for the unit. So the walls have a base health of 1500, so this is only going to be adding additional 1500, but it does add 1500. If you've got a triple layered wall, for example, that's an additional 4,500 hit points they have to chew through for each of those to get through those walls. That's going to buy you time, and that's one important resource in this game that people don't think about is time. Well, I mean, the pros do. Don't worry about that. Moving on, monumental architecture is going to stack with those as well. 45% hit points to buildings. So it's almost half their hit points again added on. So certain buildings that are really high health are going to get insane bonus from this. On top of that, it's also going to give it a plus damage to your town centers, making them much more effective, especially once you throw a villager in there to take on guys up front. It's going to make him especially potent against ships, which is, monitors are going to ruin your day with Inca because they just get that range. Let's see what else we got here. 2 war huts, you're getting that plus 20%. Machu Picchu is going to give you that extra building, of course. Bring your stronghold limit up. So what I got? 1, 2, 3, 4 on the map. Unfortunately, it does not refresh, and I don't think there's a card that does that for them. But moving on, you have Census. This is going to give a plus 100% point bonus to your Kalancas. It's going to make them really tanky, allow you to really start pushing out units if they're getting attacked. So what does that look like in practice? Well, let's look and see what the hit points are doing here. So right now I do have this guy on. We'll go ahead and turn him off so we can see what it's like without and with them. You'll see that our walls are already at 10,000 hit points. Our town centers are 12,000. The strongholds at 14,000. Our Kalancas 8,500. Our Tambos are all the way up to 2,000, or I'm sorry, 6,000. It's just getting silly already. That's with all of the bonuses. Now, like I said, let's look at this. So every time it's only getting like the percentage is based off of this guy. So when it says a percentage, you're taking a percentage of this and adding it to this. That's how math works. Same here. A percentage of this to add it to this. If something's giving it plus 50%, it's getting an additional 1,000 hit points. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we throw on the what do you call it? This one right here, town ceremony for the building defense. Watch this. 33, 14, 62, 40,000. This one got a big buff too. I didn't see what. I think it's 12 to 18. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but all of a sudden, your strongholds are something that people really don't want to take on if they don't have to. Like, in most instances, an enemy will decide to just go around this. But if I've done something like this, they can't really do that either. With the walls, you're doing 3 walls like this, it's going to take them time to chew through them. It's 30,000 hit points they have to make it through, at least. And on that note, I've done something a little special to show something. Now, my villagers have already cut this down. Let's see if they're going to try to use the gate or the hole. I might have made it too small, I'm not sure. Nope, she's going right for it. So, that's something you really have to be very, very careful of. Is if there's a tree, even a small one, all of a sudden your wall's not worth crap. So keep that in mind as you're placing the walls. I actually did that one specifically on purpose so I could show that. So be very, very careful, because like if someone shoots artillery there, that tree's toast, and all of a sudden they can just pour in and not have dealt with your cards. He crushed himself on my defenses. It makes me laugh so hard. So, now one reason why you might want to decide to stick with the building cards, and I'll show you, is because of the big button cards. Right here, for every 4 minutes of game, we're getting a Mace Man. That's calculated out as 7 times 4 is 28, so you have a 2-minute grace period, basically, where if you have a maximum cap, you need to hide some units or get some units killed to keep them coming out, or you're basically losing some resource there. Another one, for example, is right here. This is another example of that same thing happening. If you have your 20 llama, you basically just wasted your resources. This is something you do after you've eaten your initial 20 llama if you're going that route. If we look at Concha House, you can see the big button's missing. I like to use that with plus 300 wood early on to help me age up quickly in the very beginning. So that's why that one's missing. Town Center is going to give you 5 plumed spearmen, then 12 plumed spearmen, then 20 plumed spearmen. So, and those aren't Minutemen. Those are just regular, like, boom, come out, fight for us sort of units. It's not instantaneous, but it can compensate for not having those types of cards in your deck. Why throw in 6 bowmen when you can have the 6 spearmen to then go start harassing the buildings and stuff like that? On that note, we also have this guy right here. This is your Minutemen. I throw that on, they're going to just start streaming out. You see, basically just under just under every 2 seconds we're getting one. But they do max out at the 6. Their help will drop. But these guys are your defense unit. They're your go-to, because as they die, unlike the Minutemen, you're not continuing to spend resources. They just keep coming out. This one's a little more tricky, the Soupe ceremony, because once you get that one going, it actually takes 43 seconds per Mace Man, whereas this one's going to give you the 7 Mace Man overall over the course of 30 minutes. So if you can get that early on, by the time your 30-minute mark hits, you will have a small force that was actually relatively inexpensive compared to how expensive the Mace Men are. I mean, you're getting 7 Mace Men from that for 400, 400, 400. A single Mace Man's 150, 150. So while you are spending wood on the ceremony, it's going to save you other resources. Same here with that. But all right, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at how the different buildings building cards synergize with each other, and I do hope that gives you guys ideas on what to do moving forward. Now that you can see in effect what those things are all doing. I'll see you guys next time.